Hofstedter Samid Aleph will begin Hofches Samid Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. So we learned in the Mishnah there was a machlokes of psilas a beged shekipla v'loheva. If you had a beged and it was folded and twisted into a wick, but it wasn't singed, Rabbi Eliezer says it's tameya v'ein madlikin ba, and Rabbi Akiva says it's tahara madlikin ba. The way Rav Barava explained the Mishnah, the machlokes is as follows. The Rabbi Eliezer says that just because you folded it and twisted it, that does not negate its status as a beged. A beged is makabel tuma, so therefore it still retains its status as a beged. But ein madlikin ba, the way he explained it is that we're talking about where Erev Shabbos is on Yontiv. We're talking where it was the 3 etzbois, the beged was 3 etzbois at 3 etzbois mitzum tzomais, exactly 3 by 3, and that the madlik has to be madlik barov hayotze. And furthermore is that both Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva hold of, like Rav Yehuda, they hold of noiled, and noiled is muksa, and therefore Rabbi Eliezer holds that since this has a status of a beged, now when you're lighting it, if it's yontiv, now when you light it, soon as you start to light it, it's now less than 3 by 3, it becomes a shever kli. And since you have to continue applying the flame to it, you're now being mishtamish with muksa, because it's noilet. It was a beged, and now on Yontiv you made it into a shever kli, and therefore you're being mishtamish with muksa. And he holds like Rav Yehuda, who holds of noilet. Whereas Rabbi Akiva holds, once it's been twisted, it's done, this kippul is done already Erev Yontiv. You can't do it on Yontiv. It's done Erev Yontiv. It's already been made into a shever kli before Yontiv, so it's not noilet. So Rabbi Akiva holds that it's tohar because the folding itself negates its status as a kli. So it's already a shever kli. You can light with it on Yontiv because it's not noilet, because it was a shever kli before Yontiv. So Zok the Gemara Omid Kamataras Rav Adabar Abba Libi Rav Yehuda, since Rav Adabar is explaining the Mishnah, explaining the machlokes with the sheet of Rav Yehuda, that they both, Rav Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva, hold the sheet of Rav Yehuda. So apparently Shema Mina Rav Yehuda Sirle. So Shema Mina that he himself holds like Rav Yehuda, Lagabi Muksa, the noilet is also. Did he say this? Does he really hold like Rabbi Yehuda? Because Israel, a guy that hollowed out in a log, a kav, a measurement of a kav, something that can now accept a measure of a kav and contain within it that measurement of a liquid, or that measure of a volume, and it's a log of Yisrael, Masika beyond. You can be burned with that log on Yontif. Now, v'amai noiletu. Now, isn't this noilet? The log of a Yisrael is not being oimed to be made into and fashioned into something else. A Yisrael cannot carve out on Yontif and make a kav from a log. And the fact that the goy did it is totally unanticipated. So this is noilet. Before Yontif it was a log, and now it's a kli, and now it's a kav. And nevertheless, he himself said that you can use it for firewood on Yontiv. So apparently he does not hold like Rabbi Yehuda Lagabi Noilet. From the Gemara, the Relez of Rabbi Akiva, Kamer Le. He himself does not hold like Rabbi Yehuda. He's simply explaining the Mishnah that Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva, they hold like Rabbi Yehuda, and that's how he's explaining the machlokes in the Mishnah. And that's how he's explaining the Tanoim in the Mishnah. But he himself does not hold like Rabbi Yehuda Gabi Muksim. Rav Amar Hainu Taimid Rabbi Eliezer. He says the reason for why Rabbi Eliezer says that in Madlikim Ba, that you cannot use this psila, that psilas habeged shekipla, he says for an entire different reason. It's not totally on noilet, it's not totally on muksa, it's for an entire different reason, and it's not limited to a Erev Yontiv being that Erev Shabbos rather being Yontiv. It's not very limited to the case where Erev Shabbos is on Yontiv. What is the reason? He says, Rav Amar Hainu Taimid Rabbi Eliezer Lefi Shein Madlikim B'Psila Shein Muchareches V'Loi B'Smartu Shein Mucharachim. He says it's because of the din of Hadlakas Neres, of the wick. He says a wick that's not singed beforehand does not light properly. It doesn't catch the flame, draw the flame properly, and therefore, just like we had in the whole parak over here, that there's only certain psilas that can be used for hadlakas neiros, because if it doesn't burn properly, if the light flickers, etc., we're afraid he might come to shemiyata, he might come to adjust it and come to be mechaba or mavir. Similarly, Rava says this is a continuation of that same idea and the same isur, that it doesn't burn properly. If the wick, if the beged is not singed beforehand, it doesn't, the flame does not burn properly, it jumps and it flickers, and we're afraid shemiyata, and that's why you can't use it. So it's not limited at all to a case of where Erev Shabbos is on Yontiv. And it's not dependent on Noilad and the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda. It's a din by hadlakas neiros, and this is the basis of the minig that's common, that the psilas, the wicks, are singed, and it's usually the husband that does it, the man that does it, that they're singed, they're burned before Shabbos, so that when it comes to hadlakas neiros, they burn smoothly and they burn properly. Well, according to this explanation, therefore, it has nothing to do with the din of Noilad and the din of Noilad and the din of a Shever Kli and the din of Tuma. So he says we learned that there's Gimel Mitzvah Tzomas. It's exactly Gimel Lamai Hilchasa. So what halacha, if it's previously, according to Rav Bava, that was part and parcel of the explanation in the Mishnah. But according to Rava, what is this referring to? The Gemara says it's Linyan Tuma. It's a separate din, Linyan Tuma. It's not related to our Mishnah. It's a din Linyan Tuma. It's not. Gimel Shamro. We said that Gimel al Gimel, that in order for a beged have a minimum size where it can be mekabel tuma, if it's a beged of tamar pishtim, it has to have at least 3 etzbois, all 3 etzbois. It cannot be less than that. 3 etzbois or 3 etzbois is still used. Sometimes it's used for a patch. Poor people, anim, use it for a patch. It has to have at least 3 etzbois by 3 etzbois. So the Tanna Kama says, Chutz min amal divrei Rav Shimon. Rav Shimon says that's excluding the hem. That's excluding the hem. When you have a patch, usually what's sewn on the edges of it, around the perimeter, on the edges, is a hem so that it doesn't unravel. So Rav Shimon says that it has to have 3 by 3 net of the malal of the hem. So it has to be a little bit larger than 3 etzbois and 3 etzbois, so that after the hem is sewn, you still have a patch of 3 etzbois by 3 etzbois. However, they say no. 3 by 3, and you don't have to have more than that to account for the malal, for the hem. Even if it's exactly 3 by 3, and even after sewing the hem, what will remain from the patch is somewhat less than 3 by 3, it doesn't matter. When we say 3 etzbois by 3 etzbois, it's including the malal. It's not net of the malal, it's including the malal, and that's what we have the din of gimel mitzvah tzomas. So we were discussing the din of Rav Yehuda's Shita, of Noilad, of Muksa, of Noilad. So the Gemara is now going to give some examples of the din of Noilad. Amar Rav Yehuda Marav, Masikim B'Kelim, Vein Masikim B'Shivrei Kelim, Div Rav Yehuda, Rav Shimon Matir. So this is the machlokes of Rav Shimon and Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda is Machmir by Muksa, and Rav Shimon is Mekel. And therefore, Rav Yehuda says there is Noilad. Noilad is Muksa. It's also, so therefore, you can use for firewood Kalim, but not Shivrei Kalim, because the Shivrei Kalim, the broken Kalim, they are considered Noilad and are Muksa. Another example, the Gemara says, Masikim b'tmorim, you can be Masikim with dates. You can use dates, but Achlan ain't Masikim b'garenim. Once you eat the fruit, the pits now are considered Noilad. Prior to eating the dates, the date was considered part and parcel of the fruit. It's there, having the pit in the fruit preserves the pit, it keeps it intact, and it's considered part and parcel of the fruit. Once he's eaten the fruit, what remains, if it's only a pit, now that's not a fruit anymore. So that's noilad. So you cannot use it for firewood, because again, it's noilad and it's muksa. So that's the Rabbi Yehuda, but again, Rav Shimon Matir. So we have these cases over here, and these two cases. Now we have a third case of Noilad. Masikim be'agaizen. You can use nuts, and you can use it for fuel. Ochlan, but once you eat it, ein masikim be'klipot seim. You cannot use the klipa, the shell, divra Rabbi Yehuda, Rav Shimon Matir, and again Rav Shimon Matir. So again, with the nuts, while it's the nut is still there and you have the shell, it's part and parcel of the egois. It's part and parcel of the egois, and it's considered part of the nut. But once you've removed the edible part of it, what remains now is not part of the edible nut. It's a shell on its own. Before, it was considered part subordinate to the egois. It was an egois, and now it's simply merely a shell. So that's Noilad, according to Rav Yehuda, and it's also, but Rav Shimon is Matir. So we have these three examples where we have this machlokes Rav Yehuda and Rav Shimon about Noilad. So why do we need all these three cases? More says it's Tzricha. The Hashmin and Kamaisa, if it only told me the first case by Shivrei Kalim, Mahi Kama Rav Yehuda, I would say Dafka over there, Rav Yehuda says that it's Noilad and it's also Mishun Demi Kli, V'hashta Shever Kli. Because originally it was a Kli, now it's a broken Kli, V'havle Noilad also. Aval Timorim, but the case of the dates, the Mikor Garinin, beforehand, the Garin, the pits were in existence. By the Kli, the Shever Kli was not in existence. There was a Kli, and now it's a broken Kli. But by the case of the Timorim, the pits were in existence beforehand. V'hash the Garinim. So I might have thought there were pits, they are pits now. Amish Domi. I might have thought it's not Noilad and it's Mutter. Kamash Malan. V'yashmin and Garinin. Now, if you told me the case of the pits, Havamina Demikar Machasim Hash Megalin, I would think yes, Rav Yehuda says that's Noilad, because before he ate the dates, they were concealed, they're all covered. They were embedded inside the dates, and now they're revealed, they're Megula. So it's considered Noilad. Ava Klipe Agoizim, but the shells of Agoizim Demikar and Megalit, beforehand, it was not covered. But then the shell is covering the nut. The shell was not covered up, was not concealed. V'hashta migle, so nothing has changed, and right now it's also not covered. Ema shaper dami, I would think it's not noidlan, it's mutter tzricha. V'ha de Rav la befer shitmar el meklalit. And this, that Rav holds like Rav Yehuda, legabe, these cases of noidlan. We didn't say beferish, we learned it out from the following Maisa. The Rav achal tav mari v'shada kashayis lebuchim. Rav was eating dates. It was on a weekday. He was eating dates, and he threw the pits into an oven. So he threw the pits into the oven, and Rav Chia told him, Bar Pachti, the son of great ones, of noble ones, connect to be Yontiv also. He said, this on Yontiv, to do this on Yontiv would be also. Because Rav Chia held, like Rav Yehuda, that it's Noilan. So Kiblu Minei or like Kiblu Minei, did Rav accept it from Rav Chia? Did he accept this, and therefore similarly held that this Noilad would be also or not? Tashma Dechi also Rav Lebavel. When Rav came to Bavel, Achal Tamai, he ate dates v'sharik hashaysa lechiyusa, and he ate the dates and he threw the pits and threw for the animals to eat. So you see, apparently, that he did not accept it because this was on Yom Tiv, and apparently he did not accept it, and he did not hold that the pits were muksa, were Noilad. Are we not talking about the dates, the parsi, the Persian ones, where the fruit does not stick to the pit? Then after eating the fruit, there's nothing of the fruit left. It's just a clean pit, and therefore, according to Rav Yehuda, that would be noilad because there's no fruit over there. And do you not see, therefore, that he did not accept Rav Chia's ruling and he held that it was mutter? No, we're talking about these types of dates, that there's still some of the fruit of the dates still stuck to the pits, and therefore there's still fruit over here. So therefore, it's not the same case as Rav Chia, and it's not a case of noilet. But perhaps in the case of the Parsiyase, he would agree that it's noilet and it's also. Well, he said Rav Yehuda says you can use kalim. You can use that for fuel. You can burn with that, but not shivrei kelim. Well, how can you ever use kelim? Because once you start to ignite it and burn it, it now becomes a shever kli. So now it's noilat. So now when you're stirring or stoking it, it's muksa, it's noilat. So how can you ever use it? Once you begin to use the keli, it becomes a shever keli, and therefore it should be muksa and it should be awesome. More answers, Dovid to Rav Masna. He did it in the manner like Rav Masna. Amar Rav Masna, Amar Rav, Eitzim shenoshim in a dekalotana beyontiv. If firewood, its wood fell rather from a tree into a tanner on yontiv. So you had a tanner, you had an oven, and in there was firewood, and from a branch fell from a palm tree, it fell into the oven. Then what do you do? Marbe eitzim muchanim. You take wood which is muchan, which is not muksa, which has been designated for firewood, umasikin, and you now use it for, and you're allowed to use it for fuel, and you're allowed to now stir the fire, and it's mutter to use. Now, how is that mutter? The branches that fell from the tree on Yontiv are muksa. So the way the Meforshim explain it, the Magen Avram, others, is that the branch fell from the tree into the oven. Now there's other firewood in the oven. Now you're taking wood which is muksa, which is not muksa, which is muchan rather. You take wood which is muchan, and you're marbe, and you're mevatel the muksa branch, the branch that fell from the tree, which is a muksa, make it bottle. We have a klal, we have a principle, ein mevatlem isra lechatchila. But over here we're talking where there was wood already in the oven. The isra involved over here is the rabbanon, is muksa, and over here under these circumstances we permit being marbe and being mevatel the isra. So similarly, the Magen Avram says, in the case of kelim, we have to be talking in a similar case where he was mevatel the keli beforehand, and therefore now he's allowed to use it because he made it bottle. So therefore, even though now the keli becomes a shever keli and it's muksa, it's noilat, but he's mevatel it with other fuel, with other items which are mutter and which are not muksa. And in the same way, he's allowed to use it. We allow him to be mevatel it. Under these circumstances, we allow him to make it bottle, and therefore we allow him to use it.